You've authored probably one of the most influential books that has circulated amongst almost every guest that I have ever spoken to, The Creature from Jekyll Island. So, in that book, you talk quite explicitly around the origin story of the U.S. Federal Reserve. Do you want to just give us the version that you feel comfortable with in terms of what is the U.S. Federal Reserve?
The Federal Reserve System, of course, is considered by most people, and myself in the beginning included in that group, as an agency of the federal government. And as such, we who went through the government school system were taught that any agency of the federal government or the state government, governments in general, were good organizations because they were there for to serve the people. And I believed all of that at the time. So thinking that the Fed was a government agency, I had a great deal of respect for it. Well, I discovered that it's not a government agency. Let's start with that. So what is it? Well, if it's not a government agency, it's a private organization. It's a corporation, and the corporation was created not by a state government, but by the federal government. The federal government can create a corporation just the same as a state can do so. It's a corporation made up of banks in America that all join together in kind of a what you might call a labor union. It's an association, they like to call it, an association of banks who have formed together for their mutual benefit and to create some unity across the board for all banks in America. And of course, that just sounds like it's a pretty logical thing to do. Let's have some control over the system. Let's have it uniform. Let's have it understandable by the average person. So we're all rah rah so far on that. But it turns out not to be that. The association is actually a cartel. It's a cartel that's probably in the category of the drug cartel. It's a criminal operation, really, because it steals, it plunders the American people, their purchasing power, because they have the capacity, the legal capacity, the right to create money out of debt, or you might say out of nothing. According to the terms of this cartel, they can create money simply by issuing or rather accepting an IOU. They come to you or me and they say, "How would you like to take out a loan?" We all good. What's the interest? Oh, it's very low. Yeah, I'll take out the loan. And they want me to sign a piece of paper, which basically is an IOU. It means I'm promising to pay back the loan. Well, that piece of paper that we sign as an IOU, they monetize. They put that into their books as an asset. You know, that's a valuable thing to them, and therefore they can issue certificates called dollars to offset those liabilities and assets that balances the books, and they create money out of that. In other words, out of nothing, because many of those debts are not paid back; they're just written off, and they know that. The debt that has been amassed right now, trillions of dollars in debt, everyone knows will never be paid off. But those are all dollars that the Federal Reserve System has issued and loaned to individuals, to corporations, businesses, to institutions, and to governments around the world, literally. And they're huge amounts of money. It's that debt that is the basis for our money supply. And they just keep loaning and loaning and loaning and loaning more money and out of more and more and more debt. And everybody said, my goodness, how high can this debt go? Well, it can go infinitely high. But as long as the debt expands faster than the rate of products and services, the value of each dollar unit gets lower and lower in value. So that at the end of the process, the money system becomes worthless. We know this because it's been done over and over again by other countries around the world in the past. And whenever a nation undertakes this path of creating money out of nothing or out of debt, which is even worse, um, why then the system collapses. Now that's what's wrong with this cartel. Like a parasite, it doesn't care about the source of its nutrition. If it grabs hold of a tree and it just keeps sucking the sap out of the tree, and the tree gets weaker and withers, and the leaves fall off, it's still struggling for life. The parasite is still the mold or whatever it is, the moss on the tree is still pulling everything out of it. Till finally the tree dies. And of course, the parasite dies along with it or has to go find another tree. But that's what governments are, literally, especially when they get hold of the monetary system, like the Federal Reserve. And I said the governments, I meant to say the governments and the corporations. There's very little difference in our world today. In case you haven't noticed it, there's sort of a what do they call a rotating window, what do you call these doors with the swinging doors,
Yeah, revolving
round and
door.
round,
Yeah, totally a revolving door.
revolving doors. Thank you. The, the people who are in government, let's say in the Federal Reserve System and the Treasury Department and so forth, they come from the banks, don't they? The people who run the FDA, that control all the food and drug organizations, the key executives in those government agencies come from the very corporations that they were supposed to be controlling. And they move back and forth. It's sort of a little good old boys club, and nobody seems to notice that they're all the same. So what we have now is a monopoly. It's a fraud. It's a scam. It's a plundering mechanism. It's a parasite, whatever you want to call it. But the official name for it is it's a cartel, and it's called the Federal Reserve System.